Welcome back to Harnessing Your Wealth with Billy Peterson. Today's guest is one kind of special athlete. His name is Croix Sather, and he is most well known for his trek across the United States, where he ran a marathon a day for 100 straight days. Now imagine that. Most people can only think about running one marathon a year perhaps, but this is a guy that ran a marathon every single day. And in addition to that, he held a keynote speech, kind of a motivational address, if you will, in every single stop for every day of that 100 days. He started in California and finished in New York City. He's done some amazing things. He's also known for holding the record, crossing the Badlands of North America from the lowest point in North America to the highest in the continental U.S. This is called the Badlands Endurance Race, and he's accomplished that. Now his record was broken. He's going back to attempt to break the record again. And we wish him all the luck, but I think you're going to enjoy this show about overcoming ourselves and setting your mind to something that you want to accomplish. Let's welcome Croix Sather. All right, here with Croix Sather. And we've had a little bit of time to get to know Croix just from a distance, obviously, and distance is a word he knows pretty well. But just for our listeners, give you a bit of a background, and you heard it on the introduction. Croix has spent hours and hours out in the heat of Death Valley. He's an ultra runner. He's known by a lot of different names. He's a motivational speaker. He's spoken to many, many different organizations. And the guy's on a mission. Let's just say it. He's done some things that most people could only dream of, or many would never even think about. But, one is running a marathon a day for 100 straight days. That just blew me away, Croix. Thanks for being on the show, by the way.
Great to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. I think this is a kind of a interesting dynamic to have somebody like you who's done some of these amazing feats, and you're still going, right? Talk to us about back when you decided you were going to do something crazy like this. And I say crazy loosely. I'm wanting to know where the motivation came from. I mean, it wasn't like you were a big runner. It sounded to me like you were inspired to do something, to make your life mean something. And then you just decided to start running. And a year later, you're running these crazy distances. What happened?
Well, if you go back to the real origin story is I remember when I was a kid, and I don't know, I was 6 or 7 years old or something, and I would read National Geographic magazines that I found in a dumpster because my parents didn't have money to buy stuff like that. And so I find this bundle of magazines, and I look through the magazines, and I'm reading about Africa and Asia and South America and all these things. I was like, oh, it'd be so amazing to travel the world. And so that was the seed that was planted to think outside of the tiny little town that I grew up in New York. And so that's kind of where it started. But more importantly than that was when I was 14 years old, I was riding home on my bicycle. And my friends were on the left side of the road. They're on the shoulder. And I was on the right side of the road riding with traffic like you're supposed to. And a lady comes over the crest of the hill, just a little crest of the hill, middle of the afternoon, and she's drunk. She sees my friends and she panics. So she swerves, crossing the double yellow line, and hits me head on. My bike crashes into her big metal bumper. I hit the windshield, and the police report said that my body flew 50 feet into the air. That was on a Friday night. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I was in a coma. When I wake up, the first thing I see is my mom's beautiful blonde hair and my dad towering over her. And they were just waiting, hoping, praying that a miracle would happen. What I learned from that lesson was that life is fragile. Life is very, very fragile, and you only get one chance at it. And my parents kind of implanted that seed into me. It's like, you survive for a reason. What are you going to do with it? And so that was always my motto for life. And so when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was a carpenter like my dad, and I was just like, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so what am I going to do differently? And I had saw a video of a guy who had run across America. I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't a runner. But I was just grabbed by this idea to do it. So I was like, I absolutely have to do it. And that started the journey. So 39 years old, I wasn't a runner. like Sean was saying before, before we got on the air, it's like I wasn't a runner at all. And 1 year I trained and then I'm running a marathon a day. And it wasn't pretty. I admit it. It was a pretty ugly thing running 26 miles a day, but I made it happen and I crossed 3,000 miles across America.
So that's a wild idea. You go from non-runner to I'm going to run 100 marathons and I'm going to
And
run
you
one
did it
every
in a,
day.
you did that in a year? You trained for one
I
year
trained in 1 year and then I was at the start line. Yeah.
for the 20 for the 100 days in a row?
Yep. Went from a non-runner to a marathon a day in a year.
Oh my God.
Can I just ask, where did that come from? Most people would say, I want to train and run one marathon, and then I'm going to be happy with that for a long period of time. Where did that come from?
Well, it was the physical aspect of it comes from construction. I was in construction for 20 years at that point. And like my dad, I was taught to work like a dog. I mean, you worked hard and you worked all day. And so I would build people's houses during the day and I would build my own houses at night. So I was used to working 12, 13, 16 hours a day very, very often and not taking a day off for months, sometimes years. So the work ethic came from there. But the idea was just being inspired by this thing that I thought was the craziest and coolest idea that I've ever heard.
Mm,
And that's what drove me, is just being inspired to do it
mm.
and pushing out. And it wasn't slow. I was never a slow runner. I was never a fast runner, and I'm still not a fast runner. I never have been. But it's the idea that I was able to keep going on and on and on. And it all comes from that good old American work ethic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But are you athletes, your family? I mean, you're kind of a freak of nature, I think, so in a good way.
Well, we're all, I won't call us athletes, but we're all like athletic. When we swam as kids, I mean, that was my thing. I'm a great swimmer. I'm an okay runner still today. I'm an okay runner, but I'm actually a really great swimmer.
Mm.
So I did have that, but I didn't do anything for all my adult life except for work. I never did any athletics. It was just work, and that was it.
Was your plan before you did this is to maybe catapult that whole concept into speaking engagements and opportunities to become more well known? Was that the plan originally, or was it just I want to do this for my own self satisfaction and prove that I can do it?
Well, I was already learning to become a professional keynote speaker, but I didn't have any jobs at that point, and I was thinking about what can I possibly do that's going to make me be chosen over athletes and astronauts and
Mm-hmm.
business moguls and all these other people that I'm competing against as a keynote speaker. And when I had heard about this guy that had run across America, I'm like, that's it. That is the coolest thing. So originally it was just, wow, that is so cool. But then the very next step was, wow, this could really launch my career. So they sort of happened simultaneously,
I see. And then
and it worked.
yeah, it
Yeah,
seemed to.
obviously.
You've written some books. Talk to us about, I'm just interested to explore that whole deal a little bit further, if you don't mind. You start in California. You end up in New York, correct?
Yes.
And so you're running roughly, 3,000 miles. We all pretty much know the distance here. What is so you're running a little over a marathon a day, maybe. You're getting to that close to 30. Or were you precisely running exactly a marathon? Because I know also you gave a presentation at the end of each run, each day. You gave a kind of a keynote speech or a motivational speech, right?
Yeah, every day was and it didn't always work in this order. It was always changing depending on the place, but it was a marathon and a keynote speech. Most often the speeches ended up in the morning. They just scheduled that way, and then I'd run in the afternoon.
Mm.
And often I'd run into the night. And for most of the trip, I was only sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night. So I was on I was constantly sleep deprived, which was its own challenge in its own way
Mm-hmm.
on that. But it was every day was giving a speech, and then it was running a marathon. And the speeches were for different groups like wounded warriors, addiction centers, homeless shelters, rural high schools that normally don't get keynote speakers. So all of these groups, and the message was always the same. Rise above your circumstance and create a life that you love. And so that was a message that was, of course, received very, very well, and was told the story. And an interesting part, but going back to the business aspect of it, when I left California, I was a good speaker. But when I got to New York after giving 100 speakers, my friends who saw me before and after, but not in between, they're like, "Wow, you're a totally different person now." And
Yeah.
so that repetition of doing it every single day just radically changed my career.
Oh, I can imagine. And then you're out there for, whatever it is, 26 miles and hours to consider what you did right and what you want to change for the next presentation. I mean, you've got a lot of time to think.
Well, when I was running, I'd have about maybe 2 hours of mental acuity, and after that, my mind would just shut off, and I was just sort of zoned and running, and not in a runner's high. I was just everything was just shut down, and I was just moving.
Hmm.
So I'd have an hour or two of creativity and thinking about the day and what I did well yesterday, what I needed to do better the next day, and then after a couple of hours, and then it was just kind of zoning out in a way and sort of zombie in a sense. I had a team, but they weren't with me all the time. I would call them if I needed them.
Hmm.
They started by following me every mile of the day.
Hmm.
And then after a week or two of that, we're like, this is ridiculous for everybody. We're all exhausted. You guys go relax, go to rest. And if I need you, I'll call you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you had to prepare for that quite a bit. I mean, if you have a speaking engagement every single day, how long and how much did you prepare to make sure that all just, I mean, I'm sure it flowed perfectly, right? There were no hiccups, but tell us about that.
It actually went reasonably well. Of course, there were hiccups throughout it, but it went pretty well. One of the worst hiccups was, I think it was day 3 or 4. I forget which one it was, where I showed up for a speaking event and nobody showed up.
Oh,
I was the only one there and somebody who was working in the office, and that was it. So that was kind of a weird thing to manage.
they got a
And then
one-on-one then.
Well, you've made quite a name for yourself with things you've accomplished. So a couple of things that you've done beyond that is the Death Valley run, what is it? Badwater. I mean, they have I know endurance ultra marathon. That one's, what is it? 135. And then you're taking it even further to the extreme where you're running it solo without any support, any crew, any help or assistance. And you're starting at the first, which is the lowest elevation in the country, in North America. And then you're running, is it 146 miles across Death Valley? Is that correct?
146.
And you're doing it by yourself. You're pushing a 200-pound cart with all your gear, with all of your water and food, and doing it all by yourself. I mean, what's going on? Where did that come from?
Well, after I ran across America, and before I even got to the finish line, I was already thinking, what's the next thing I can do? And my crew thought I was crazy. It's like, just shut up and finish this race. We still have 2 or 3 more weeks. Just shut up and finish. Don't worry about what's next. But I was already thinking about that. And there's not many things in the world that's harder than running across America. But Death Valley is considered the hardest foot race on the planet. So it has to happen in the summer, so July or August, when temperatures average around 120 degrees. And then the race is 146 miles from the lowest point to the highest point in the continental US. And I'm doing it different than the official race, which is with a crew and a team, and they're giving you water and they're giving you food and they're massaging your feet and they're doing all these things for you. I'm doing this by myself, pushing a cart with food, water, and supplies. So the cart weighs more than I do. The cart's over 200 pounds. And I've got to push that up 19,000 feet of climb through the hottest desert on the planet.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud you. That's amazing. You're one of only 5 people to have accomplished that. And then you set the record for that as far as the time it took you to do it, which was subsequently broken. And now you've got the great idea to go back and break his record, right? You're planning on doing that this year.
Yes. The record was set 13 years earlier than when I did it. And that was set by Marshall Ulrich. And nobody has been able to beat that record for 13 years. One person finished it. A woman was able to finish the course. So it was Marshall, the woman, who had a slower time. And then I came along and I beat his record. Then 4 days later, this younger guy comes and beats my record.
4 days?
Just 4 days.
That's crazy.
And so that's never really sat well with me.
Yeah,
So 14 years later now, I'm still kind of like upset over it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so I want to go back now at 55 years old and go take that record back. So I'll be still one of five, only one of five who have ever completed the record race. And I'll be the oldest one to have ever completed it as well.
Mm.
So I'll be the oldest. And when I beat the record again, then I'll have the new record.
What time do you need to be in order to take the record?
My record was 73 hours. The current record is 57, and I'm
57.
shooting for 40, 57, and I'm shooting for 48. So one day, one full day faster than I did it last time. That's what
Wow.
I'm training for.
Wow. I mean, just crazy. Are you worried about with all the water you're pushing
And
and
I'm in
no?
Colombia now. I'm at an Airbnb. I got mountains right up here that I'm at the base of the mountains that go up to 12,000
Yeah.
feet. So every weekend I'm running up and down those mountains just training. I ran up and over the mountains to a tiny little town on the other side called Pacho, just because I wanted to explore. So why not? So I ran there, and next weekend I'm going to run there and run back. So I'll get 50, 60 miles in next weekend.
Now, when you're running and training for these, how do you take care of all your hydration? I guess there's probably towns and stops along the way you can hydrate and fill up, get food, right? You don't have to pack it all with you on these runs.
No, I don't pack it with me. I carry one bottle with me, and there's in Colombia, here in South America, and like most South American countries, there are little, I don't know, like get called a roadside stand, I guess, where you can get water and empanadas and things like that.
Hmm.
So I can stop and get food and water along the way. But there's no towns between me and most places. I'm in a very rural area outside of Bogota.
How do you prepare for the heat, or can you? Is that impossible?
This time I'm going to do it different. Last time I didn't prepare for the heat, and I was just in really, really amazing shape. I was literally a machine because I'd run across America, trained for another year, and I was literally a machine. I'm like, it blows my mind how extraordinarily capable I was at that time. But I didn't train for the heat. I was able to manage the heat, but I wasn't trained for it. So this time I'm going to go live in Las Vegas, which is just outside of Death Valley, and I'm going to go train in Death Valley for a whole month and
Mm,
get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll never get comfortable,
mm,
but hopefully I can get to the point where it's just another training day.
mhm.
We'll see.
Is it truly a matter of mindset, like mind over matter? I mean, that's a cliche, but is that really what this boils down to? Just to keep chugging?
Yes and no. Yes, it is in the majority of the sense. But when I was trying to break the record the first time, my body wasn't adapting to the heat. So I had trained for that run across America, then trained for another year. I get to Death Valley, and that morning I'm just not feeling good at all. And by mile six, I knew I was going to have trouble all day. And by the time I got to mile, I forget what it was. I think it was mile 12. I was already vomiting. So I was
Hmm.
dealing with heat exhaustion within just the first few hours, and that was at 7 o'clock in the morning when the temperatures didn't even get close to the maximum yet. Temperatures were only about 100 degrees at that point. And so by the time I got to mile 45, my body was just basically shut down, and it wasn't going to let me finish it. So I had to abort that trip, abort that race. I go back to Las Vegas, I rest for 3 days, get reacclimated and hydrate properly, and I go back 3 days later, and that's when I went and broke the record. This time I was feeling good. So I get to 6 miles, I'm passing the same point. I get to mile 12, 24, 36, 45, where I'd stopped, and I'm feeling great. I'm pushing up the mountain, and that's when ended up breaking the record by 5 hours.
Hmm.
So yes, it's mind over matter, but if your body's shutting down,
Your
Hmm.
body's
there's
shutting
nothing you can
down.
do to negotiate that.
Do you
That's it.
take,
Yeah. And every athlete has that from time to
yeah.
time when they're doing these kind of extreme things. You just some days your body just doesn't cooperate.
And while you're out there on your own, obviously you have to take care of yourself and you have these unexpected things that could come up. Sicknesses, you feel ill, maybe you get injured somehow. What other kind of materials or uh, help medications, whatever, do you take with you on that course in order to ward off any problems that you may have or experience?
I don't personally take anything. I'm 100% natural, and in my races, I don't take anything. Not even ibuprofen, not even Advil
Mm,
or aspirin or anything like that. So it's just a matter of training and being ready for it. It's one of the reasons why I want to go to Death Valley early this year, is because I want to manage all of those different things and figure out what works better for me and what doesn't. But in that extreme temperatures, your body doesn't want food. It wants a lot of fluids, but it doesn't want to eat and it doesn't want to do all the natural things. Basically, your body, to an extent, kind of shuts down to manage what you're doing. So stomach is one of the things that shuts down.
Yeah.
Your mind, to some extent, shuts down. It uses less energy, so that it can give all of its energy it needs just to survival and keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a crew that's in the area. They can't help me. This is a solo self-contained run. So they can't help me. They can't, give me motivation. They can't give me food or anything. Anything that I start with, I got to finish with. So totally self-contained. They're just there in case something goes wrong. A week before I went to break the record, there was a veteran, accomplished athlete, a very well-known ultra runner, and he was out on a training run in Death Valley. He was just out there running 6 miles, and he never came back. Nobody knows what happened. He maybe didn't take enough water or something, lost his way. Maybe he got dehydrated or delusional. We don't know, but he ended up dying there a week before I ran. So
Goodness.
the risks are real.
Wow. I mean, that just scares you a little bit on what can happen in those kind of conditions. I mean, this is not just a sideshow. This is a serious endeavor, like something that it takes a lot of willpower, a lot of guts, conviction, because I scratch the surface on what it takes to persevere. I've run a 100-mile endurance run, and I know what my mind was doing during the, in the night, up and down, climbs, elevation. You get cold, and then you get hot, and your body's just kind of saying, stop. Your mind's saying, no, we're not stopping. But then your mind starts going and playing tricks on you. And I have no idea what it's like in the kind of conditions that you're talking about. So can you describe what happens to your mind, and how do you push through it when your mind's almost like going through trips and you're hallucinating?
Now that I'm doing this again and I'm getting ready for it, I'm pulling out some old video footage and things like that I'm using for marketing and to promote this whole thing. I'm looking at the video and I'm looking at my face in most of the video, and I am absolutely miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to know anything. I am just an absolute torture. And I'm looking at these videos. I'm thinking, what did I get myself into again? Like, why did I agree to this?
Yeah.
But I remember too that when you're doing this, and you know this, when you're doing it, your mind you just focus on the one thing, and it's getting to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of blocks everything out to some extent. And I think that's the challenge that most people have when they have a big goal, is that they don't block everything else out. They're not taking it to the extreme where it's like, I'm going to finish this no matter what, whatever it takes. But when you have that kind of attitude, you manage all of the other things.
Mm.
When I was climbing up to the end of the race, because it goes from the lowest point to the highest point is 14,505 feet. And when I got to, and this is a pretty complicated technical trail at the last 11 miles, and me and the videographer are going up there, and it's the middle of the night, and we're going up, and my body shuts down. I'm going into hypoglycemic shock. I didn't recognize the symptoms of what was going on. And then I took a little energy drink, one of those little energy shots. And all of a sudden, I'm like Bambi running up like a billy goat, bouncing up the mountains. All of a sudden, I'm going from like half dead to bing, 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 up flying up this mountain. And then like 20 minutes later, I crash again. And I'm like, oh, like I'm like nearly dying and passing out. And then finally, it dawns on me what's going on is that I'm going into hypoglycemic shock.
Mm.
So I start taking a little bite of a protein bar, one tiny little bite every 3 minutes. And then after a little while, my body equalized and I was able to get enough energy to finish the race.
Man.
But it's it's just part of the hallucinations, and part of the problems you have is nutrition, fluids, tired, sleep deprived for 3 days, basically no sleep for 3 days. I had a couple of stops or breaks, but the clock starts and it doesn't stop until you get to the end. So you just keep going. So my goal this time is to go 48 hours, no sleep, no stop, no rest,
sleep.
just go nonstop.
I know when Billy ran his, I paced for him. He was hallucinating because he called me on the way up, and I was going with his wife, Heather, and said, will you guys get me a double cheeseburger with fries from McDonald's? And I've known Billy a long time, and I've never seen him walk into a McDonald's. And I'm like, oh my God, Heather, what is going on with your husband? So that was,
No, that was at mile.
I knew he was out of it. He was losing
That
it.
was at mile 40 or something like that.
40, yeah, I joined you there and ran like
And
15 with
yeah,
you.
she brings me these. What are you crazy? You want? I said, I need it bad. Just the only thing sounded good, like keeping me moving. And then I tried to scarf this burger down, and just like you said, your body's really not wanting it. Like, but my mind was like, yeah, you need this. And I ate it, and oh my goodness, for the next 10 to 12 miles, I felt like I could not pick up my feet. I was so sick. But hey, I got through it. We made it. But I can't imagine doing that for 2+ days without any sleep. Like I was going to ask you, do you carry a mat there so you can roll out and lay down on the? I mean, how do you sleep when it's 130 degrees? That's got to be miserable. We just keep on trucking.
Well, I designed my cart the cart that I was pushing. I designed it so that I could lay on top of it and take naps because I don't really like scorpions or snakes, and that's
Yeah.
the only thing that lives
Yeah.
in Death Valley. So I had designed it for that, and I had for years, unintentionally, but just because I was curious about it, I had heard about this thing called polyphasic sleep, and it's the idea that you could take a 7 to 15 minute nap and feel like you've rested all night. And so I had been experimenting that for years before I even had this idea to run across America or run across Death Valley. And it ended up serving me pretty well because when I got into Death Valley, I'd set my timer for 15 minutes. I'd lay down, I'd fall asleep within seconds, and then the alarm would go off and I'd just get up and I'd keep going.
I've
But
had
this
naps
time I'm
like
hoping to
that.
do it without.
Power
What's
nap.
that?
I said I've had naps like that where I've been asleep for 5-6 minutes. I wake up and I feel like, oh, I
Refreshed.
slept for a long time. How many? When you went across America, this is a weird question, but how many pairs of shoes did you count?
Oh gosh, it's been a while. I think I went through like 12 pairs that I wore flat out bald. And then I had a whole bunch of other ones. The bigger challenge I had with the shoes was that as I was running, my feet kept growing, which was probably a lot of
Oh,
swelling. And so I had bought all these sneakers in advance. They were all the ones that I wanted to wear. And I couldn't wear them because they wouldn't fit anymore. And so I had to keep buying shoes. Every time I got to a major city, I'd go into a running store and I'd go buy another pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
So my feet grew 2 full sizes from when I left
Oh my
California.
I
gosh.
can imagine.
Wow.
Do you have a
And when I
favorite?
got to New York, they only shrank one size. My foot's one size bigger.
You have a favorite brand? Did you pick up a shoe sponsor?
No, well, back then nobody knew me, so nobody was
Nobody
sponsoring me back
cared.
then. Hopefully, I have a little better luck this time.
Yeah, you're gonna get one.
I think so. Let's talk a little bit about the mindset and what it takes, and then what you provide to all of your attendees at your events. And you've spoken to some large organizations, watched some of your stuff on YouTube and the presentations that you've made, and you're pretty big into the mind, the law of attraction, the universal forces. I'm also pretty big into that, and I believe it's underappreciated as a general rule. So can you share with the listeners what it is? Like, where did you get the knowledge? Was there a mentor that you have? Or did you just read books? Did you study a certain person or people to try to go deeper into this whole mysticism, if you will, the universal laws and quantum physics almost to that point?
I've had many mentors. I've read countless books and listened to countless audios. In fact, last night I was reading a book on hypnosis. So I've studied that extensively, but I want to refresh my memory so that I can do a lot of self hypnosis when it comes to this event. And so it's a constant, uh, unsatiable need or desire that I have to learn everything I can about everything that I can possibly learn about. And they all go together: mindset, mental strength, law of attraction, quantum physics. They're all related and interwoven to some extent. And it really comes down to when you want to achieve something, if you find something that you're excited enough about, you'll find a way, you'll figure it out. And whether you're driven by money or just getting something done or by significance, whatever it is that might be pushing you or pulling you to that, that doesn't matter as much as having something that you're so excited about that you're willing to do anything to make it happen. And without that sort of resolve, it's going to make it really, really difficult. When you were racing, you had that resolve to finish, and you finished. When you were a jockey, you had that same resolve to be a champion, and that's why you succeeded in your financial life, in the business you have now. It's the same reason you're aligned with getting that, and you make it happen. But then to layer on top of that, you also have to have the focus and the mental strength, and all of those things layer on top of it. But it all starts with choosing something that you want so badly that you'll find a way.
Hmm. I've studied this a lot, like you, I guess. Um, I've read dozens of books about this concept because I'm fascinated with it, and things that we don't fully appreciate or understand, like I mentioned. Even things like we all know there's gravity. We all know there's certain things that we can't see or touch, but they're still there. And airwaves, carrying sound, but there's also the energy, and energy's wave, and there's vibration, and there's things that can be happening across the world has an impact on things that are going on right here in this very room. Or your thoughts have energy, which is crazy to conceptualize, but your thoughts and energy can become matter if it has enough force behind it. So you've mentioned getting excited enough and passionate enough about something. And there's a speaker very well known in this field by the name of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I've been to some of his conferences, very, very well known in this area. But he says that an elevated emotion can create and change matter, can change your reality. Just the emotion with the idea. So what you want, you have to visualize it as if it already happened. There's no wavering, there's no doubt, there's no, I'd like this to happen. It's, you already have it. It's already done. And then you have that elevated emotion with it, and then it draws that reality right back to you. So it's like this chosen field that's already out there. He says they're already out there in the universe, the quantum field. And now you're just connecting to it. And I'm very inspired by that, these whole things. I hope we can learn more about what's possible. But you're taking that to extreme levels. Is that something that you talk about in your presentations?
Usually that's with individual clients that I talk about that. That's not so much a corporate conversation. But you're absolutely right. When I decided to run across America and I started to move forward in that, everything started happening and coming into place. I would meet the right people, the right coaches, the right mentors by chance. The guy who I was inspired by to run across America, after I made this proclamation that I'm going to do this, it wasn't but a few weeks later, a friend sends me a Facebook ad or whatever it was, saying that he's going to be in New York City, which is only a few miles away from me at the time. And so I went down there and I met with him and I paid for his running clinic class. And then at the end of it, I invited him to dinner and we had dinner. I asked him to coach me and he coached me to
Mm.
teach me the difference between running one marathon and running one marathon a day. It's a very different strategy, different methodology. And so when you align to your goal and you start moving forward, the universe and the law of attraction, all these different things will conspire with you to help you succeed. And you've seen it over and over in your life too. And everybody who has succeeded at that level, it's like you become a big magnet. And so when you're moving towards your goal, you'll start attracting all these things. And just like bing, there goes another thing that hits you
Yeah.
and it's what you need. And bing, 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 and all these things will find you. And now that I'm doing this one again, it's starting to happen to me again. I'm building momentum and people are showing up in my life that I didn't know I needed them. And yet they just somehow or other became connected with them.
There they are.
And it all works because of that law of attraction. I call it the vibrational mind. So you
Mm.
have the conscious mind, which is the part that we're using right now to talk with each other. Then you have the unconscious mind. That's the stuff that happens behind the scenes. But then you also have the vibrational mind, which is what you were talking about, which is the vibrational effect of everything around you. But that's so if you think of it as an iceberg, and the conscious and subconscious mind is the part that's above the iceberg. I'm sorry, the conscious mind is above the iceberg. The subconscious mind is below the iceberg, and the water around it, that's the vibrational mind. That's the connection you have to everything. They're all one thing. They're all still just water and connected to each other. They're just in different forms.
Hmm. Yeah, energy carries that so much, and I've seen it time and time again. Just a comment about the law of attraction, so to speak, is when I decided a few years ago I wanted to write a book, and I started to plug that into my mind, and I said I want to write a book because I have some things I want to share. It's going to be a financial type book. I want to share with adults and even younger generation what I think it takes to become wealthy and the steps that they should take early in their life in order to make that happen. Well, I didn't really know how to write a book. I didn't know the first step. I didn't have an idea. Just so happens 2 weeks later, we're going to a conference, and Sean and I were there.
I was there.
Raymond James conference. And the one and only time I've ever seen a course that they had, one of the breakout sessions was on how to write a book. And it was just like, wow, are you kidding me? I mean, here it is. Oh, I go to this class, this breakout session, and a couple guys were teaching the attendees how to write your own book, and they'd written a book on the whole subject. So I got their book and I read it cover to cover in a couple days, and it was everything A to Z. And starting to write your manuscript, this and that and the other, working with agents, doing it yourself. How to edit things, how to hire people, get your photo copies, to get your design, apply for all your ISBN numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Put it on Amazon. I mean, all kinds of different information that I needed in order to get started. And bam, one thing led to another. A few months later, I've published my first book. That just goes to show you that when you put your mind in place in the right, you're dialed into the right frequency, I think. I don't totally understand it, and I don't know how to explain all this stuff, but there is something out there. I'm 100% believer. There's something out there beyond our knowledge to a point, but we need to trust in it. We need to trust in it. Give it. You manifest things, and you can't get too crazy on how it's going to happen. It can't be precise. This is what I've learned. You can't say this is going to just like this clockwork. You just set your mind with a vision, and then just get out of the way, and watch things kind of materialize.
It's like when you think of somebody and then you get a text or a phone call from that person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You just thinking of that person, then you get the call. Or you're just thinking about a client and that they haven't signed up yet, that they haven't signed a contract or something, and they call like, hey, I'm ready to go. And you didn't reach out to them. It's just you matched up, your signals matched up.
Mhm.
And this happens to every one of us every day, all the time. But you're absolutely right. If you try to force it too hard, then you can often block it too.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that. It's the reason why most people are financially struggling, is because they're blocking that abundance of wealth.
Mm.
And they're not doing it intentionally, of course. It's not like they're bad people or wrong or thinking wrong. It's just that their energy level at that moment is attracting more scarcity of money rather than attracting more money.
What's your advice to people in order for them to get unblocked with things that they want? Sometimes we pray and we ask for things, and then it doesn't come. It doesn't come to pass, and we think, why? God is smiting me. What's wrong with me? But what is your thought on that whole concept of believing in something and wanting something, but not getting so carried away with it that you block that energy from materializing?
Well, you've already said it. It's the idea that if you're too attached to the idea, then you're going to block it. But if you just decide you want something and then let it up to the universe and leave it to God to go to find a way to get it there. But that doesn't. My dad was a preacher. My grandfather was a reverend, and my dad would always say God would provide, and he always did, generally speaking. But sometimes my dad wanted something that wasn't being provided for him, but it was because he didn't have the right mindset for it, and so he was blocking it because he wanted it so bad that he was blocking the allowing God or the universe and energy to provide it for you.
Mm.
And so he would get in his own way. And this is a preacher, and he would get in his own way, even though he believed nothing more than the gospel himself. And yet you can get in your own way by thinking it's like the idea of like, I don't have enough money. And when you keep focusing on I don't have enough money, then what are you gonna attract? You're gonna attract more not having enough
Yeah.
money instead of focusing on abundance is coming. And then you'll attract it. Like when I'm running now, I was having trouble with my knees and my calves. And one of them is from a previous injury. And the other one is just because I went out too hard and too fast. Like I got this idea I'm going to run through Death Valley again, so I went full bore and I'm trying to train. It just doesn't work that way. So instead of focusing on the injuries, I was focusing on that my knees and my calves were getting better, and allowing it to happen when it would happen.
Mm.
And I wanted it to happen in a few days, in a week, but it took over a month. And it's still actually, it's still slightly repairing and getting to the point where I can give them a absolute full workout, like a full bore, hardcore on them. And I can't just yet, but I'm listening to my body, letting it tell me when it's going to come, and then doing what it'll allow me to do. So I can't tell us like, we're going to run 100 miles this week. If I go and run 100 miles this week, I'm going to blow out my knees or my calves or all of them. Who knows? It's the same idea with attracting a mate, attracting money, happiness, or whatever it is. If you're trying to force it's not going to happen.
Mm.
And it's this weird sort of artistic balance between wanting something so bad and working so hard for it, and being open to whatever is going to come your way and when it's going to come your way. Like when I was training for Run Across America, I didn't know a lot of the things I needed to accomplish to get there. I didn't know who I needed to meet or what I needed to do. And I just allowed myself to allow those things to happen. And most of them flowed into my life without any effort.
Mm.
And other things I pushed hard and made them happen.
Mm.
So it's sort of a dance that you have to do
Yeah.
between wanting something and allowing something.
That's a great way to say it. And I remember early in my years, before I knew this whole thing about, and I'll call it mind body, and I'm another big advocate of the mind body, and not necessarily jumping into all the traditional medical treatments and answers that they want to provide, but just I used to run a lot. Obviously, I run a lot of marathons. I've run 65 plus marathons and a whole bunch of ultra marathons and distance runner. I've since backed off a lot on the running part. But I remember having problems like pain or conditions or like plantar fasciitis or something wrong. I'd have Achilles tendonitis. I'd have something pretty much every 6 months or something. I'd have something that was painful or an issue. I would always attribute it to, hey, it was just overuse. I'm just developing these things. I had no idea that the way I think or what's going on in my mind or my emotional state at the time was directly related to what's going on in my body. So I'd always give all my power to doctors. I'd go to the doctor. I would say, what's wrong? I need some prednisone. I need steroid. I need some kind of answer. I need a physical brace or something to get through this pain. And of course, I'd take that and I'd do it. But now I'm totally 180 degrees different. When I have something painful come up in my body, just like you mentioned a minute ago, you bring into your life what you're thinking about. And so instead of thinking about the pain, if I could have a knee hurt, or I could have my Achilles tendon hurt or something. So instead of thinking about that one, I do my best to focus on the one that doesn't hurt. So I think about the other knee, and I'd be grateful for how great that knee feels. Or, so I'm giving all the energy to the one that feels good. And, wouldn't you know it, just with either sometimes hours or maybe a day or two, if I'm staying in that mindset, the pain's gone. And I've come to appreciate how powerful that is. I didn't know all that stuff until I went through my own health scares and problems and, all kinds of, I was diagnosed with an incurable disease, an autoimmune disease, and I won't get into all that now. But I truly believe that the power of the mind and power of belief is probably the most powerful thing that we have. And that's my story there.
It's when I'm running now, I do the same thing. If something starts to hurt, and it happens all the time, I'll take a deep breath and I'll relax into it, and just relaxing into it sometimes is enough to let it go away. Other times I might have to change my pace, or it'll remind me to change my stride. And maybe I'm too tense, and that will cause problems. And this isn't really that much difference from life. If you're having business troubles and you get too tense and you're too stressed and too worried about it, you're going to sometimes make the problems worse than just relaxing into it, and relaxing into the idea that you'll find a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, if you relax into that idea that you'll find a way, you'll find a solution, something will show up. Most often that's going to take care of itself. But if you're like, no, I got to find the reason in this, and
Gotta
you can
force
cause
it.
more problems than you're solving.
That's where a lot of the problems stem, is because we have a problem in our society, and the first thing we're taught to do is run to the doctor, and then the doctor finds something, and they don't connect that you can most times alleviate that on your own. Just the way you think, just calm yourself, just alleviate tension or nervous energy or anxiety or worry. Alleviate that. What are you thinking about? What were you thinking about the time this pain started coming on for you? You know, especially when it goes chronic. Now, there's a difference between chronic and acute. When it's acute, all right, you slipped and broke your leg. Obviously, you need to lay off of it and let that heal. But your body will heal. But when it goes chronic and they're trying to tell you need to be on pills, you have some kind of disease for the rest of your life. You know, I've read enough books and heard enough people that counteract that entire myth. That's a myth. And I'll just go on record saying it, that you can heal from anything. And it's just about having your mind in the right place and believing that you can heal. So I'm really inspired about what you're teaching people, that they can overcome so much of themselves, right? That we're sometimes our own worst enemy. Do you agree with that statement?
We can absolutely be our own enemy, but we also have to give us ourselves some grace, because a lot of that beliefs and that mindset and the way we do that to ourselves, being our own worst enemy, is not from us. We're not born that way. We've learned that somewhere along the way. I'll give you a great example, and it's a tragic, sad example. When I was running across America and I was speaking at all these different audiences, I was in West Texas somewhere. I don't remember the name of the town, but it was a big high school and there were 600 students there, filled up the whole auditorium. And at the end, I would give away my books for any of the kids that wanted it, and I'd sign it for them. And so the kids would line up and get the book signed. And there was this one little girl, kind of heavy set, frumpy, disheveled, and she's off kind of like sitting in the corner a little bit, but sort of shadowing, like hovering around. She waited until all the other students left. So the line was gone. And so she slowly, sheepishly, kind of quietly walked up to me. And like tears are kind of coming down her face, and you could tell there was something there. So I just listened. And she says, every day for as long as I can remember, when I'm getting ready to leave the house to go to school, my mom says to me, "You're a piece of shit. I wish I never had you. Now get the fuck out of my house."
Wow.
And of course that crushed me. But I could see that she needed space, so I just sat there quietly and let her gather her thoughts. And then after what felt like an eternal pause, she says, "Now that I've heard your speech, for the first time in my life, I believe I can make something out of myself.
Mm.
Thank you."
Mm.
And
Wow.
I left there, and I get back to my RV, and I just bawl out crying because of the weight of what this little girl was going through,
Mm.
whatever, 15 years old, whatever age she
Mm.
was. And it just, that's, we learn this stuff. And maybe it's not that dramatic, it's not that severe like this girl, but we have other versions of it. Like, why would you do when you have an idea and you tell somebody, your spouse, your coworker, your friend, whatever, and they say something like, "That's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Why would you think of that?" I would never do that. Those are subtle things that will accumulate into our subconscious mind. And that's how we become our own worst enemy, because we have all of these programs from all these people all of our lives. The self hypnosis, or what becomes self hypnosis, that I'm not smart enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not old enough, no, whatever doubts that we've implanted to ourselves. That's not what we're born with. Nobody's born, not a single child is born with these doubts. They are somehow implanted into us, and we believe them, whether we choose to believe them or not. But we end up believing them. And that's what self hypnosis is for. That's what all these other things we were talking about before, mindset. It's why I read all these books. My life's probably a mess anyway, but my life would be a total mess if I didn't read and study and learn all these things to keep constantly improving my life. Even
Yeah.
at 55 years old, I'm still learning, I'm still growing every single day. I'm trying to do something that makes my life just slightly better than the day before, and let go of those. And every once in a while, those old voices come and haunt me, and they get you. And then you have to remember, that's not my thought. That's whoever's thought. And I've got to let that go. And so meditation, prayer, mindfulness, all of these different things are helpful for this.
Mm-hmm.
What is your go-to when you feel like maybe you're down or you've got these negative thoughts? Like what's your reset? What's your favorite one?
Usually it's running or
Yeah.
exercise, going to the gym, exercising. A physical state will change your emotional, mental state. So that's the first place I usually go. And if for some reason that's not working, it's prayer, it's mindfulness, it's meditation, being quiet, or listening to something optimistic. And depending on what I need, what kind of garbage I need to get out of, depends on what I listen to. I love Joe Dispenza. You mentioned him earlier, so I can listen to him, or Wayne Dyer, or maybe it's a religious a sermon or something like that. And I listen to him in English and Spanish. And so there's a whole bunch of different things. So over the years, I've found the ones that work for me, and it depends on what mental garbage is getting me is
Hmm. Crazy.
which one I'll go to. But
Yeah.
generally, it's physical exercise.
I think
Physical
that,
state changes mental and emotional state.
yeah, the gym is huge. I've always told him, I was bragging earlier, I'm down 18 pounds, and it's because I've been consistent at the gym, and I can totally correlate, like just even coming to work. Like I'm
Good for you.
sharper, I'm more excited about
Energy
myself.
levels are up.
Energy levels are up. I'm excited for client meetings versus when you're out of shape, you're too fat, you're not doing anything. What are you doing? And then
Well, you're
and
down on
then I'll
yourself.
have, you know, Billy will know, I'll get gout,
Mhm.
right? I'll
Yeah.
get I'll be sick.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how that all coordinates together. Just how you view yourself. Yeah.
Mhm.
How your mind's thinking about yourself.
Mhm.
It's nuts.
Yeah. You ready for a few rapid fire questions, Croix?
And now that I'm getting back into, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Can you
You
hear me?
were on a quick delay there. We didn't hear you talking. Go ahead with your thought. I didn't know you were talking right there.
Now that I'm training again in a really serious way, which is only like 40 minutes a day, plus the one long run I do on the weekends. But now that I'm getting lean again, I'm getting my six pack back. I'm getting big muscles. I'm back at the gym. I'm lifting almost as much as I did in my 20s. I feel so strong mentally, emotionally, physically. There's nothing like this. And now I'm wondering, how did I let so many years go by where, I was healthy, but I wasn't strong healthy? And so now it's a reminder again on that, especially as a guy, if you're not working out with weights and physical training, getting very strong, a lot of muscles, you're not going to feel nearly as good as you possibly can. It's more
Mhm.
important for men than women in this sense. Women need to be felt fit, healthy, and strong, but men need the muscles to be able to feel the strength that they have
Mhm.
and to have the confidence level that they need. It's especially critically important with men.
We're going to ask you some rapid fire questions, Croix. And these are just real quick to wrap up the show. Whatever comes to
Okay.
mind, these are more fun, engaging. So I'm going to come up with a few. Sean's just going to wing it here, come up with a couple of questions, and then we'll wrap it up and leave our listeners with how to follow you and kind of follow your progress with this major event that you're going to undertake here later this year. But my first question for you is, who's your favorite podcast? Do you listen to podcasts?
Of course. Oh, my favorite. There's a bunch, and they've been favorite for different reasons. But I would have to say, anytime I could listen to Tony Robbins, whether he's a guest or it's his own show.
Yeah. Good ideas, motivational. Good to keep you uplifted. Get anything quick, Sean?
Favorite athlete?
I don't think I have one actually. Me.
Yourself? I love that.
Okay. He doesn't
That's a
follow
dog
athletics.
answer. Nice answer.
What's your favorite?
I actually don't follow sports generally. I play sports. I don't follow them.
Okay.
No,
Good to know.
we understand that. What's your favorite city to visit?
Medellin, Colombia.
Wow. Is that where you're at right now?
No, I'm in Bogota. I usually live in Medellin, but I'm in Bogota to be in the mountains because it's much, much higher altitude. But Medellin they call it the city of eternal spring because every day is 75 to 80 degrees. And
Hmm.
it's just the
Nice.
most amazing climate. It's a city that has more restaurants than you could possibly eat at. And the people are so warm and friendly. And I speak Spanish now, so communicating is not an issue at all.
Very cool.
It's just really, really a fantastic place. But my favorite city in the US would probably be Charleston.
Nice.
I want to go there.
What about favorite post-race meal?
Uh, Always something salty, and usually after a race, I crave burgers or meat. Like I need a
There you go.
steak or a
See that?
burger. I don't know what it is because I don't normally crave beef that hard. But after yesterday, after I finished running, all I wanted was a burger when I got back. It's the only thing I want. Burger and salty French fries.
Yeah.
There you go. It's the salt
I love them
deprivation.
in those endurance runs, and they have the trail aid station set up, and you run through there, and they've got potatoes, salted potatoes, and they've got all kinds. It's a smorgasbord, and it's one of the reasons I loved running those endurance races so much. They had a lot of good food. What's a bucket list thing that you have right now that you're planning on doing at some point?
There are so many places in the world I haven't seen yet. And I've lived in many countries. I've lived abroad for the last 9 or so years, and there's still so many places I want to go. So I want to travel more. But I also want to travel the US again in an RV. And I want to do it in an old muscle car, an old 69 Mustang or fastback or something. And I want to travel probably Europe on a Harley.
Sweet.
Anything that you want to accomplish personally or professionally before your life is up?
Books and speeches. And I also want to be a millionaire. I've yet to accomplish that or even come that close. So and that's more of a yes, I want the money, I want the toys, I want all that stuff that goes with it. But I want it because I want to prove to myself that I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
A net millionaire, net income per year.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I watched one of your podcasts where you said you're starting to put in your mind envisioning living to be 150. Is that still a plan of yours?
It was 129 at least because that will get me to the new century.
Okay.
So yes, I do. As long as I'm healthy and relatively clear mind, and people are living to be in their 120s now, one teens, 115, 20 years old, and still being sharp, and it's happening more and more and more often,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. And if my life now at 55, the healthy shape that I'm getting in, that to the point where I'm almost as healthy as I was when I was in my late 20s. If I can do that now, I imagine I can do that similar when I'm much older.
Mm.
I work out with the guy once in a while. He's 72 years old. He outlifts me in every single exercise.
Wow.
Yeah.
72. And he'll all of it, everything. This guy is just
That's wild. We love hearing stories like that. And again, the mindset is true, and it's really what it all boils down to is create the environment you want, envision it, get excited about it, and get out of the way and watch it materialize. I think you've got a great story. You've done some amazing things just out of pure willpower and just creating the idea that you're going to do something and then making sure you execute and see it come into fruition. We wish you a lot of luck, and we'll be following you. And
Yeah.
I know that the listeners here would like to follow and see what you're going to do next, and which is hope we break that record, come in at 48 hours or whatever that goal was, and we'll be watching you. But thanks so much for bringing on a show today, Croix. We appreciate and we're inspired by what you're doing.
both of you. Thank you so much for having me on it. Great show. Great questions. So some I have to think about a little bit.
You bet.
Good.
Everybody listen, watch the show notes, check the show notes. You can find out how to follow Croix, and you can check out his books that he's written. All the other information will be there for you. So until next time, you guys, keep riding them. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you for listening. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersonws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Peterson Wealth Services is a registered investment advisor. This is a paid-for advertisement. Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up-to-date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of a personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Peterson Wealth Services.